Her Majesty's prisons. The reality of incarceration. The first sound is metal, not shouting. A heavy door closes somewhere down a long corridor, and the echo carries longer than expected, reminding everyone inside that time moves differently here. In the early morning light, a prison yard sits still behind high walls and coils of wire, while a city outside wakes up unaware that thousands of lives are already on a strict schedule they did not choose. This is not the prison of old films or distant history. This is modern incarceration inside Her Majesty's prisons, where punishment is no longer just about locking a door, but about controlling every minute that follows. Behind these walls, the story continues. Subscribe, like, share, and comment to follow what happens next. The daily machinery of incarceration. The day inside a UK prison begins before sunrise, as officers move through long wings, checking doors, faces, and numbers under fluorescent lights that never fully turn off. Cells are small and functional, built for management rather than comfort, often shared, with bunk beds, a steel toilet, and carefully arranged personal items that offer a thin sense of ownership. Morning count confirms who is present and who is not, reinforcing that every person inside is measured, recorded, and accounted for before movement is allowed. Doors open in stages, not all at once, and inmates step into corridors only when the system permits, learning quickly that freedom inside prison comes in short, scheduled moments. Breakfast is collected rather than enjoyed, handed through hatches or taken from serving lines, eaten quickly because time is controlled, not flexible. Inside prison, time is not marked by clocks but by routines, cues, and the sound of keys, shaping how days are remembered and endured. Movement between areas is tightly controlled, with locked gates, radio calls, and officers guiding groups through corridors that all look the same after a while. Work assignments begin mid-morning, not framed as punishment, but as order, placing inmates in kitchens, workshops, cleaning units, and maintenance crews. In industrial workshops, the sound of tools replaces conversation, and repetitive tasks fill the hours, offering structure even when motivation is low. For some, these jobs are the first steady responsibility they have held in years, while for others, they are simply a way to make the day pass faster. Education blocks operate alongside work areas, offering basic literacy, numeracy, and vocational training under the belief that learning reduces reoffending. Not everyone attends classes, and not everyone believes in them, but these rooms often become places where possibility quietly returns. Healthcare appointments interrupt the day for some, addressing physical needs while mental health care struggles under long waiting lists and limited resources. Mental pressure builds slowly, shaped by isolation, regret, distance from family, and the awareness that control over one's own life has been suspended. Lunch arrives on schedule, familiar and predictable, eaten in cells or communal areas depending on staffing levels and security conditions that day. Afternoons stretch longer than mornings, filled with more work, more waiting, or time locked behind doors when movement is restricted. When the prison yard opens, fresh air and space offer relief, but the environment remains tense, shaped by unspoken rules and constant observation. Some inmates walk laps alone, using movement to manage stress, while others cluster cautiously, careful about who they speak to and how. Discipline inside prison is enforced quietly, through warnings, privilege restrictions, and controlled consequences rather than constant confrontation. A single mistake or rising tension can lead to isolation, where time slows and walls feel closer with every passing hour. As evening approaches, activity winds down, and the prison returns to quieter routines, preparing for another count. Phone calls become the emotional center of the day, short and monitored, carrying voices from a world that continues without pause. Family connections are fragile here, strained by distance, cost, and the reality that relationships change during long absences. Dinner is served with the same efficiency as every other meal, predictable and routine, reinforcing that personal choice is limited. Final count confirms positions again, locking certainty into the system before night settles in. Doors close, corridors quiet, and the prison shifts into night mode, where silence replaces movement. Inside cells, thoughts become louder, replaying decisions made years earlier and imagining futures that remain unclear. Some inmates read or write, others lie awake, learning that the hardest part of incarceration is often what happens in the mind. Sleep comes unevenly, interrupted by checks and light, reminding everyone that privacy here is never complete. This is the daily machinery of incarceration inside Her Majesty's prisons, where punishment is carried out not through spectacle, but through routine that repeats day after day without pause. Control, discipline, and psychological pressure. As days turn into weeks, prison life stops feeling new and starts feeling permanent, and that is when control becomes less visible but more powerful. The system no longer needs to explain itself, because routines have already taught what happens when rules are followed and what happens when they are not. Discipline inside a modern UK prison is rarely dramatic, but it is constant, shaping behavior through restriction rather than force. Privileges become the real currency, including time out of cell, access to the gym, phone calls, and visits, all of which can be limited or removed. A late return, a raised voice, or a misunderstanding can quietly shift someone's status, changing how the rest of the day unfolds. Warnings are written, logged, and tracked, building a record that follows an inmate through the system long after the moment has passed. For those who struggle with authority or impulse, the pressure builds quickly, turning small frustrations into serious consequences. Isolation is one of the most powerful tools available, used when behavior crosses lines or safety becomes a concern. Inside an isolation cell, time stretches unnaturally, with fewer distractions and longer hours alone with thoughts that refuse to stay quiet. The space is stripped down, designed to remove stimulation rather than comfort, reinforcing that separation itself is the punishment. Mental health struggles often intensify here, as anxiety, regret, and fear surface without the noise of routine to keep them distant. Officers continue their checks, professional and procedural, maintaining safety while enforcing distance. Back on the wings, life continues without pause, reminding those removed how quickly the system moves on. For inmates not in isolation, pressure still exists in quieter forms, through surveillance cameras, movement tracking, and constant observation. Every interaction is shaped by awareness of who is watching, who is listening, and what might be written down later. Trust between inmates is limited, shaped by experience and the understanding that information can carry consequences. Conversations are often coded, indirect, or avoided altogether, especially when tensions rise. Conflict rarely announces itself loudly, instead building through silence, looks, and careful distance. Officers monitor these shifts closely, intervening early when possible, knowing that prevention is safer than reaction. Transfers between wings or prisons are sometimes used to break patterns, separate tensions, or manage risk. These moves happen quickly, often with little explanation, reinforcing how little control inmates have over their environment. A transfer can mean starting over, learning new routines, new faces, and new unspoken rules. For some, this disruption increases stress, while for others, it offers a chance to reset and avoid further trouble. Mental pressure does not come only from discipline, but from uncertainty about the future. Sentence length, parole decisions, and reviews loom constantly, shaping behavior and emotional state. Good behavior is recorded carefully, but progress feels slow when time is counted in years. Rehabilitation programs promise change, but motivation fluctuates under the weight of confinement. Some inmates commit fully, hoping effort will be noticed, while others disengage, believing the system is already decided. The strain shows differently in everyone, through withdrawal, anger, compliance, or quiet resilience. By the end of each day, control has done its work, shaping choices without needing to be spoken aloud. Inside Her Majesty's prisons, discipline is not just about rules, but about pressure that reshapes how people think, react, and survive. And as night settles again, the question remains unspoken but heavy, whether control alone can lead to change, or only teach endurance. Time, change, and the weight of waiting. Time inside prison does not pass the way it does outside. It settles, stretches, and repeats until days begin to blur together. Weeks turn into months, and the calendar becomes less important than routines that signal how close or far release still feels. Morning counts no longer feel new, but they remain unavoidable, reminding everyone that time here is monitored as closely as movement. Cells begin to feel familiar in uncomfortable ways, with every sound, crack, and shadow becoming known. Personal items grow more meaningful, photos, letters, and books serving as quiet anchors to life beyond the walls. Education and work continue, but motivation shifts, rising and falling with mood, hope, and fatigue. Some inmates begin to see progress in small ways, reading more easily, learning a skill, or managing anger better than before. Others struggle, worn down by repetition and the feeling that effort moves too slowly to matter. Rehabilitation programs promise tools for change, teaching responsibility, reflection, and planning for life after release. For some, these sessions open doors that were never available before, offering language for emotions long ignored. For others, the programs feel distant from the realities they will face once outside, creating skepticism rather than confidence. Mental health support becomes more visible over time, though access remains limited by demand and resources. Anxiety and depression surface more clearly as the initial shock of incarceration fades. The absence of family becomes heavier, especially during milestones missed, birthdays, school events, and losses that happen far away. Visits offer relief but also pain, reminding inmates of what they cannot participate in fully. Phone calls carry updates that feel both comforting and unsettling, proof that life outside continues without pause. As release dates approach, for some, pressure increases rather than fades. Questions about housing, employment, and acceptance replace the routines that once provided structure. For those with longer sentences, release feels abstract, something imagined but not felt. Transfers and sentence reviews bring moments of uncertainty, where hope and fear exist side by side. Officers continue their work, balancing security with encouragement, enforcing rules while observing gradual changes. Small shifts become noticeable, calmer reactions, fewer conflicts, more patience in moments of stress. Change inside prison rarely happens suddenly, but through accumulation, small decisions repeated daily. Some inmates begin mentoring others, sharing lessons learned through mistakes they cannot undo. Others withdraw inward, protecting themselves emotionally in a place where vulnerability feels risky. The system records progress carefully, reports written, assessments updated, files growing thicker with time. Yet paperwork cannot fully capture personal transformation or internal struggle. As months pass, the prison remains constant, while the people inside it quietly evolve. Each day ends the same way it begins, with locked doors and controlled silence. And within that silence, the question lingers, whether time inside is shaping better futures, or simply preparing people to endure whatever comes next. Coping, survival, and quiet transformation. Life inside prison does not pause, even when time itself seems frozen. Some inmates find rhythm in repetition, counting the hours through tasks, meals, and counts. Each routine, no matter how small, becomes a form of control in a place designed to restrict choice. Cleaning, folding laundry, repairing equipment, and educational assignments mark the passage of time more than clocks ever could. Officers maintain their roles, walking corridors, observing interactions, and noting changes in behavior. Security and order are paramount, but they coexist with glimpses of humanity and unexpected compassion. Inmates discover ways to survive mentally as much as physically, finding quiet corners to read, write, or reflect. Letters and photographs from family provide fleeting relief, a reminder that life continues beyond the walls. Phone calls bring updates and tension, mixing reassurance with the reality of what they cannot control. Friendships inside prison form carefully, built on trust and observation, sometimes strained by necessity. Conflicts are inevitable, yet many are resolved quietly, through negotiation, avoidance, or subtle social codes. Counseling sessions reveal the emotional weight carried by some, a mix of regret, hope, and unresolved trauma. Programs for education and rehabilitation continue, offering skills, reflection, and a structure that mirrors life beyond the walls. Some inmates excel, absorbing knowledge and responsibility, and seeing themselves differently with each passing week. Others struggle, skepticism mingling with desire for change, unsure which lessons will matter outside. Quiet moments in cells or the yard allow self-reflection, where the mind confronts past decisions and imagined futures. Time spent in isolation reinforces discipline but also magnifies anxiety, forcing individuals to face themselves. For those nearing release, plans for housing, employment, and reintegration weigh heavily. Some feel fear and anticipation in equal measure, knowing freedom comes with responsibility and scrutiny. Within the wings, long-term inmates and short-term inmates coexist, each learning from the other in subtle ways. Guidance from officers or more experienced inmates can shape behavior and mindset, sometimes positively, sometimes less so. Daily life may feel monotonous, yet small choices carry significance, and moments of kindness or mentorship resonate. Exercise and physical routines offer relief, but they are also reminders of limits imposed by the environment. Library and study programs allow mental escape, offering perspective, knowledge, and, for some, hope. Evenings bring reflections, small rituals of preparation for sleep, and contemplation of what lies ahead. Night counts reinforce control, reminding all that even in darkness, the system watches. Shadows lengthen, cells darken, and the quiet becomes a space for thought, for fear, or for planning. Sleep is never simple. Worry, anticipation, and memory coexist with the exhaustion of controlled days. Some find strength in creativity, drawing, writing, or sharing lessons with others, carving identity in confinement. Others retreat further, embracing isolation as a shield from emotional or social challenge. And yet, the prison continues to operate around them, a machine of routine, observation, and consequence, indifferent yet inescapable. Change is subtle, slow, sometimes imperceptible, but it happens in thought, in behavior, in quiet resilience. Within these walls, lives are shaped, sometimes broken, sometimes strengthened, and always measured against the rhythms of the system. Even as the day ends and lights dim, the questions remain. What survives the prison, and what returns to the world beyond its walls? The prison does not sleep, even when the lights dim and the corridors fall quiet. Behind every locked door is a person still moving through time, still carrying choices, consequences, and questions that have no simple answers. Her Majesty's prisons are designed to enforce order, protect society, and reduce harm, but they also become places where human lives are paused, reshaped, or quietly worn down. For some, incarceration becomes a turning point, where structure leads to reflection, and reflection opens the door to change. For others, the weight of confinement presses harder than hope, leaving scars that are not always visible when the sentence ends. The system measures progress in reports and records, but transformation does not always follow a schedule. Families wait on the outside, lives continue, and the distance between freedom and confinement remains wider than walls alone can explain. Every release carries uncertainty, and every return reminds us that punishment does not end when the door opens. These prisons exist not in isolation, but as mirrors of the society that built them, shaped by policy, resources, fear, and belief. The question is not only how prisons operate, but what we expect them to achieve when the headlines fade. Because long after the gates close and the cameras leave, the consequences of incarceration continue, quietly shaping lives on both sides of the walls. And somewhere inside, another door locks, another count is taken, and time moves forward, whether anyone is ready or not.